Ma'am, you need to see this. The 2026 Golden Fork competition kicks off any minute now. Boss Leon and Chef Hugo still can't taste a thing. I don't know how we're gonna get through this.
Calm down, Zach. I built the Heinz Group from the ground up. It's not going down under my watch. Activate the emergency protocol. Bring in a top-tier chef. Now. Hold on. What is that incredible smell? Sweetheart, where are your parents?
My mom is sick. I'm working to save her.
Shh, it's okay, sweetheart. Don't cry. I have something for you. I need you to find your father, Leon. Okay?
A liver transplant costs over $1 million. You can't pay that.
I'll make money the way Mommy taught me. I'll save her my pound.
I'll take everything this little chef made.
Thank you, ma'am.
My God, crispy, silky, perfectly balanced. I've never tasted salmon truffle tartare this good. This is Michelin level craft. Sweetheart, I'll pay you $1 million. Be the head chef for Heinz Group and represent Renee in the Golden Fork competition.
Renee? That competition?
This is flat. Hugo, you're a Michelin star chef and you can't even cook soup. You're not only risking the market value of Heinz Group, but our reputation.
Sorry, sir. My sense of taste still hasn't come back.
Has anyone heard anything from Master Renee? Anything at all?
Son, meet your new head chef, Catherine. You and Hugo can take a breather. Catherine, this is my son, Leon.
Hi, Leon. You're super handsome. Wanna be my dad?
Why does this kid feel familiar? Nah, seriously, the kid is head chef?
I can totally do it. How about you try my food first, then decide?
Hey, kid. This kitchen isn't your playground. Boss, choose me. I'm the one who can actually run this place.
Okay, Grace, fine. If you can pull off an uni ice cream mousse, the head chef title's all yours.
Of course, I'll nail it.
Don't get too cocky, okay?
Uni with a mousse base is a minefield. One wrong move and it'll taste like a tide pool.
I can do this.
Hand whipped. It's elite level control.
Boss, am I head chef material now?
She tripled the volume. Bigger body, cleaner flavors. Classic Michelin technique.
I will say, Grace, you did a pretty solid job. I was...
Excuse me. I can do it way better.
Listen, little kid, you don't look like you've ever even been in a kitchen, let alone seen anything that's not on the $1 menu at Burger King. And you think you can whip a mousse? Please.
Of course I can.
In this kitchen, only one person has won the Golden Fork 3 times in a row. Me. And I say that Catherine has the talent. Anyone want to challenge that?
Boss, come on! She can't even reach the countertop.
Catherine, we have some extra uni and cream. Show us what you got.
Grab up that one, please. I need to shut. All done. Perfectly whipped.
That's 5 times expansion uni ice cream mousse.
How is this possible? This is Renee level technique.
Sweetheart, This is incredible. Didn't I tell you? You've already outcooked half the chefs here.
This is impossible. How does a little brat know the secret to high-volume whipping?
Oh, Grace, let's be honest. If you can't even handle a moose, how do you keep a straight face and tell people you're the head chef when a 6-year-old just outcooked you?
Bad news. VP James from the Mason Group just showed up with an entire entourage.
Oh, of course he did. They're probably here for the Golden Fork competition.
Leon, on behalf of Mason Group, I challenge Heinz. The winner will get a Golden Fork competition slot.
No, James. You're not welcome here. Get out.
What's wrong? Backing out already? We both know that you can't beat us. Here, let me help you with tomorrow's headline. Heinz crumbles. Leon begs for mercy.
We've always let our craft speak for us. Fine. Leon Heinz accepts your challenge.
Deal. And now, please welcome the world's top tasting authority, Mr. Harrods, head of the legendary Harrods Culinary Dynasty.
No one matches his credentials. If he says a dish is good, it's gospel.
And he's brutally picky. If we send a poor kid out there, we're doomed.
Oh, by the way, Leon, I heard you and Chef Hugo lost your sense of taste. Running out of chefs, are we?
James, you bastard! I knew it wasn't a coincidence. You had someone tamper with our food.
No, not here. All right, not on our turf. You're not walking out of here with a win.
Boss, let me represent Heinz against Terry.
Are you sure about this, Grace? Even I can only go toe-to-toe with Terry at best.
A chef who's never earned a single Michelin star versus Terry, the guy who has won 3 Michelin 3 stars. We'd be better off letting Kat...
I'll do it!
So this is it, Leon? Heinz is so desperate that you're going to let a child cook for you? Move, you little street rat!
Honestly, no manners.
Should you ever lay a hand on my chef?
Oh, please. If I beat a kid, there's no glory in that. This is pathetic.
Boss, we're really letting a kid handle something this big? Renee's hanging on by 1 Michelin star. One wrong move, and our whole reputation goes down the drain.
Leon, he planned this. Poisoning our food to destroy our taste. It's all part of their scheme to take down Heinz.
The only chef here whose talent surpasses all of yours is Catherine. If you're all so capable, then tell me, who will face Terry?
She's 6 years old. A dish made by a little brat can't possibly hold up.
You'll never know how a dish tastes until you actually cook it.
Renee said the exact same thing. Are you sure this flavor pattern will work?
You'll never know how a dish tastes until you actually cook it.
Why does every instinct in me say Catherine will win?
All right, Catherine. You're up.
Boss, seriously? You can't be choosing her. I do not approve.
So, if I'm the head chef, how much are you gonna pay me?
Oh, unbelievable. How can she be this money hungry? Who raised this little brat?
If you win, you get this number.
5,000?
5 million annual salary. And I'll wire to you in advance.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 million! I can save my mommy! She's gonna be okay!
Of course. She grew up poor. No wonder she can only talk about money.
Catherine, how is your mother? Is she doing any better?
Mommy! I got money now! I'm gonna fix you! You're gonna be okay!
Sweetheart, are you alright? Are you safe?
I'm okay, Mom. I wish you were here.
No, that voice. Her mother can't be Renee. My Renee?
Ladies and gentlemen, the match begins now. The loser will forfeit their place in the 2026 Golden Fork competition. For today's challenge, your appetizer must be built around white truffle.
White truffle? That's one of the hardest ingredients to tame.
It needs seafood to anchor the flavor, otherwise the aroma collapses instantly. Good lord. Alaska red king crab. One of those goes for $1 million. Maison isn't even trying to hide it. They're here to crush us.
1 minute. He broke down a king crab in 1 minute. High-end ingredients and a 9-star chef? We're doomed.
Are you hurt? If you can't keep going, it's fine. Just
No, I'm fine, and they will win.
White truffle is Terry's signature. Careful, Leon. World might think Maison Group is bullying a child.
Why do you grown-ups get to decide what I can and cannot do?
Listen, little brat. Heinz is embarrassing itself enough already. Step aside and let someone competent take over. What are you gonna cook? Huh? You pocket-sized little...
Then let's bet! If I lose, I'll walk away from here forever. And if I win, you all call me Chef Catherine.
Fine. You think I'm afraid of a little kitchen brat?
Wait, is she trying to make...
She's butchering white truffle like that. Do they know how expensive it is? Okay, Heinz Group is done. Absolutely finished.
Little brat, this is a competition, not your kindergarten art project. Boss, make her stop. Let me take over before we embarrass ourselves to death.
No substitutions mid-competition. Everyone abides by the rules.
Kat, sweetheart, are you sure about this?
Come on, Jenna, believe in me. You're my biggest fan, remember?
Do you want some advice? Surrender now. That way your humiliation can stay local instead of going global.
I said this would happen. Why is nobody listening to me?
Mr. Harris, my dish is ready.
The pairings, superb. Layers of sweetness, aroma, depth. This is undeniably the finest Alaska red king crab I've ever tasted.
Game over, Leon.
We're doomed. Completely doomed. And all because of that little...
If I had lost my sense of taste, we'd never be in this mess.
Well then, Mr. Harrods, go ahead and announce the winner.
Hold it, stop. Hold it, stop.
What now? You really think a little brat like you can pull out a miracle?
I wasn't done yet. Please wait just one more second.
I believe in Catherine.
Hold on. Let her finish.
For fairness, the timer hasn't expired. We'll wait for Catherine.
Okay, now I'm done.
Are you serious? You didn't even open it. Are you trying to fool us, kid?
Nice job, Leon. Dragging in a little street rat and then pretending she's the next Master Renee. Get real.
Ready Parker, but that's my mom.
Mr. Harrods, let's stop wasting time.
Are you sure you don't want to open it?
A competition is a competition. We judge what is presented.
No. No way!
This resembles...
How is it possible?
The bubbles and pearls are all white truffle. You can eat every single one.
How did she get them this exact, this delicate, this real?
Now this is what a true white truffle dish looks like.
This truffle flavor. Magnificent! I'm honestly at a loss for words.
Oh, no, it's impossible. White truffle is fragile. It's too soft to manipulate like this. A kid shouldn't even be capable of this.
I named it truffle pearl and ocean mist.
She used liquid nitrogen to cool the truffle cream, creating a perfect truffle sphere. It looks like a real pearl because it is crafted like one.
No way! Just a child.
Look at the luster. Every pearl translucent, textured, flawless. This is extraordinary. Wait, this looks exactly like Renee's signature dish.
The legend? Renee?
This technique, this vision. Only Renee ever created something like this. Catherine, who are you?
No one! No one can turn white truffle into pearls and make them taste good!
You must have cheated.
I supervised every second. Cheating is impossible, which means the winner is Catherine.
I won. So now you have to call me Chef Catherine. Remember?
But Grace, you're the sous chef. A bet's a bet. You know what to do.
Welcome, Chef Catherine.
My pleasure.
I refuse to accept this. I'm a Michelin star chef!
Useless! Shut up! I paid you and you let some little bastard outperform you? Get lost! Leon, this is not over! I demand a second round!
Catherine already beat your head chef. The competition is over.
Who said the contest is only one round? Unless you're too scared to continue and want to forfeit.
You shameless snake!
Your head chef can't even outcook Catherine, and you're still here bluffing.
Let's be real. We haven't even touched the main course. A single appetizer crowns no real chef. Right, Mr. Harrods?
Indeed. Appetizers showcase creativity, but the actual culinary hierarchy is in the main dish.
Okay then, if it's a main dish, I'm game.
Oh, stop it. One Chef Catherine and you think you're Gordon Ramsay Jr.?
Main dishes require precision, timing, flavors, layered, textured protein. This is advanced territory.
If you're backing out, we'll log that in as an official forfeit.
No one's forfeiting anything. All right, we're in. Catherine, keep going.
Leon, let me take this one. Even taste blind, I can still cook.
And I'm the sous chef. Obviously, I rank higher than a kindergartner.
She won the first round. All right, she stays in.
Ladies and gentlemen, for round 2, allow me to present the legendary Master Renee's...
Renee?
Master Renee's most prized protege, the one whose skills are on her level, Master Ruby!
What? Mom's top protege?
We've searched the corners of the world for Renee. How did we not know she had a protege?
Master Renee wasn't just the best female chef in the country.
She was a global icon. If Ruby inherits those culinary secrets, we're cooked.
Wait, since when did Mom have a protege? I'm my mom's best student.
We're talking about Master Renee. Nobody even knows who your mom is.
If Ruby really is Master Renee's protege, then there's no chance we can win this at all.
Well, are we competing or what?
So tell me, which one of you's dying to get humiliated first?
Me!
You little kid? Aren't you scared?
Scared of what, you? Please. You're not even the real thing. You're a knockoff. You're a fake.
She called her a fake!
What did you just say, kid?
Sweetheart, are you saying Ruby isn't Renee's protege?
Nonsense. What would a pint-sized rat know about anything?
Where did this little stray even crawl out from anyway? You question Master Ruby again and I'll teach you some manners.
Don't confuse egg with authority. Don't confuse size with fear. You don't scare me.
You!
20 minutes. Your main dish challenge. Beef. Let the round begin.
That control, that finesse. Cat isn't even in her league.
That's the perfect pan flip. Master Renee's signature move. So Ruby really is.
Told ya. Mind blown yet?
Perfectly. The ideal temp to push garlic to its aromatic peak without burning it.
That's impossible. I've never seen such precision.
Ruby operates at a level that you all can't even dream of. Face it, Leon. You, your staff, your whole sad little restaurant, you're not Golden Fork material. Save yourself the humiliation and tap out now.
If we lose the slot, we're totally finished.
Kat, you're our last shot. Okay, right now, every hope I have is on you.
Seriously, Kat? This is a championship, not your toy kitchen at home.
What is this kid doing? Keep it up, because she is going to single-handedly bankrupt the entire Heinz group.
Her side dishes. Oddly similar to Ruby's.
What? Kat, what are you thinking?
Don't tell me that you're actually trying to make Master Renee's golden beef.
Copying the golden beef? Seriously, Kat, you have no backbone at all.
Ruby's technique is flawless. Her steak is almost done.
And our chef Kat is what? Making candy beef stew? This is a competition. Ruby is cooking authentic golden beef.
I love sweets. Who doesn't?
Kat, are you sabotaging us? Who throws candy into a main dish?
I still can't believe you put this little rat against Master Ruby. What a joke.
Nobody is more qualified than me, because I am the only one that can make the real golden beef.
This is ridiculous. If you screw this up, Kat, you won't just tank Renee's restaurant. You'll nuke Heinz Group's stock and shut down trading. Can you carry that on your tiny shoulders?
Stocks? No idea what it is. But I do know you're talking way too loud. You're messing up my vibe.
We're not even cooking steak properly! Sir, we have Michelin chefs on payroll, and you're betting everything on this little...
No justifications. Okay, I trust her, period.
Zoom in. Here's tomorrow's front page. Heinz Group wipes out. CEO bets on child chef.
Mr. Harris, my dish is ready.
Oh, that's my girl. Perfect.
Clock's ticking. If Kat isn't ready, that's an automatic loss.
Catherine, if you cannot present on time, you forfeit the round.
Oh, come on. Is she cooking here or is she trying to stage an accident?
I'm done, Mr. Harris. Please, enjoy.
Bring both dishes forward. We open them simultaneously. So this is the legendary golden beef. The aroma, extraordinary. The crust, like molten gold.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is what pedigree looks like. Ruby, darling, you were practically born winning.
Oh, good God. The textures. The umami layers. I've reviewed Michelin temples for years, and this might be the closest thing to edible divinity I've ever tasted. I'd trade my Monaco cliffside villa for a second plate again. No hesitation.
With ordinary beef, she made this? Oh, her skills really are terrifying.
Heinz is doomed. Kat just nuked our future.
Leon, why don't you just skip the embarrassment? No need to reveal whatever microwave tragedy your little street rat cooked up. Honestly, Kat should actually stick to unboxing frozen Albi meals. It's way more her brand. Mr. Harrods, feel free to crown us. The outcome is obvious.
Excuse me? Who said you won? Mr. Harrods hasn't even seen my golden beef. Maybe try looking before you open that giant mouth of yours.
Oh my god. This is your finished dish? Did you confuse a Michelin restaurant for a kindergarten bake sale? Leon, honestly, how do you show your face running a joke like this?
Pathetic. You really thought copying me would magically turn into golden beef? This isn't cooking. This is a cry for help.
That's weird. This isn't how it's supposed to turn out.
Boss, I told you this little brat was gonna tank our reputation. Congrats, kid. You're officially the biggest PR disaster in Heinz history.
Relax. Heinz is already halfway to the grave. I'm just here to throw in the final handful of dirt.
Madam, I'm sorry. If not for my failing taste buds, Heinz wouldn't be in ruins.
You owe us everything you just destroyed.
Honestly, save yourself the embarrassment. Come join the Mason group, and all you have to do is kiss the bottom of my shoe, and I'll consider hiring you. Maybe.
You really shouldn't celebrate yet. Mr. Harrods hasn't even seen my golden bee.
The legendary golden lion! It exists! The legends were true!
Where's all the smoke coming from?
A lion responds to the aroma of golden beef. This is Master Renee's lost signature dish. The one that vanished years ago.
There's no way a 6-year-old could pull that off. This is witchcraft!
Witchcraft? Grace, come on. I told you, I'm the only one that can recreate Master Renee's signature dish.
Liar. A lion would never respond to your cooking. The golden beef is mine. I'm the one and only protege of Master Renee. Stop lying. You should be ashamed.
Yeah. Whatever you cooked earlier, even the raccoon outside our dumpster would have turned that down.
Mr. Harrods, save your tongue. Let's just wrap this up and crown Ruby. Heinz has embarrassed itself enough for one day.
You grown-ups are seriously shameless!
Oh, you want attitude? Well, let's see how long it lasts once I taste your so-called golden beef.
James? Hello? Say something.
Harrods, you take a bite.
This can't be real.
He's speechless because it's disgusting. You should just surrender now, kid.
Yes, Mr. Harrods, don't protect her.
It's phenomenal! My God, this is truly crafted by human hands? It tastes like the gates of heaven just opened up for me.
Told you, she's a knockoff!
Boss, don't listen to her. I'll taste it myself. No. No way. There's no way a kid made this.
The verdict is clear. Catherine's dish is the true successor to Master Renee's signature golden beef. And the winner is... Catherine!
We did it! Renee Restaurant is saved!
Catherine, that was incredible.
Thank you. Now where's my 5 million?
There's $5 million on this card. It's all yours. Spend on whatever you want.
Thank you! Thank you, Daddy Leon! You're the best!
Oh yeah, James. You bring a fake chef and pass her off as Master Renee's protege? Shame on you.
Damn it! You think you can play me like this? You lying piece of trash!
Sir, please. I'm sorry. Give me one more chance. I'll do anything. Hey!
Take her out of my sight! And break every tendon in her hands!
No! Please!
Small reminder, James. It's time to honor your wages.
Who the hell told you to take photographs? Delete it! Here. 10 million. And nobody, and I mean nobody, will leak what happened here today. And as for the golden fork, I'll get in my own way.
Still cheating your way through life, huh? That's fine. We'll beat you any place, anywhere.
Get ready, because next time, I am bringing in a real master chef. Let's see how your little bastard survives that.
Where's Catherine?
She took your black card and ran out the door. She said she was going to the hospital to save her mom.
Master Carter, on behalf of Mason Dining Group, I'm inviting you to represent us in the 2026 Golden Fork competition. Now, about this kid, Catherine. She reminds me a lot of Renee back in the day. If she rises, your throne could get a little shaky.
Renee, she was brilliant, but she still lost to me. And a kid with sticky fingers and zero discipline won't even qualify as competition.
But she recreated Renee's signature dish. And
Enough. Renee was a student. If Renee herself walked in here with the kid holding her apron, they'd never beat me.
Right. Renee has had her moment, but now she's all burnt out. Rumor has it, she can't even cook anymore.
That was her own downfall. Now, as for this competition, you give me enough money, I'll make sure the stage stays mine.
Renee, your liver transplant can't wait any longer. If we delay, the window closes and recovery gets harder, much harder.
I know. Thank you, Tina.
Mom! I got the money. We can start your surgery right away. And guess what? I found Dad.
Okay, whoa, sweetheart, slow down. Tell Mommy, how did you find Dad?
Mom, I saw him for real. And he's super handsome. His name is Leon. His restaurant is literally called Renee. So he has to be my dad.
They used my name. Could it really be him? I mean, but Renee, it's not that rare of a name. It could just be a coincidence. Could it?
Leon, I'm so sorry. I lost to Carter. My hands. I can't cook anymore. You deserve a partner who can stand beside you, not someone who drags your restaurant down.
Why would Kat run to the hospital alone? Why wouldn't she call us?
Renee, we're so miss you. Zach, step on it now.
Mommy! Somebody help my mom! She can't breathe! Please!
206, female 28, SpO2 is tanking, acute hepatic failure. We're out of time, we gotta go now.
It's okay, Mom. I'm right here. You're not alone.
She's critical, we need to get her to surgery right now.
Catherine!
Daddy!
Tell me what happened. Oh, it's okay, sweetheart. It's okay.
Daddy, you have to save Mommy. She can't breathe.
She's critical. We have to get her to surgery now.
Please, do whatever you can. Get her into surgery immediately. They? Is she? I've been searching for you for 6 years. Now your hands are back.
We need to move now.
Please do whatever you can to save her.
The surgery went smoothly. She's stable now.
No talking.
You need to rest.
From this moment on, we stay together, okay? No more running, no more losing each other. We're a family. I'm never letting go of you again.
Hey. Time for your second dose.
Renee, I think it's time that you tell me what really happened 6 years ago.
It was the final round of the Golden Fork. It was just Carter and me. And his assistant accidentally poured a pot of boiling oil, and my entire station went into flames. My hands burned so badly that I never thought I'd be able to cook again.
Accidentally. No, Carter plays dirty. He always has. Of course he tried to sabotage the only chef who could beat him.
Well, a chef without her hands is nothing. And I couldn't drag you into it, so I just left.
Renee, you've never been a burden to me. Losing you was, but you're here now. You and Catherine. And I'm never letting go of either of you again.
Boss, urgent. James and Carter just held a joint press conference. Carter will represent the Mason Group in the 2026 Golden Fork competition.
That's the bad guy who hurt Mommy. I'll beat him myself.
Okay, sweetie, it's okay.
I kept us apart for 6 years. So I pay for every second of it.
Finally, a dinner with Mommy and Daddy. I'm the luckiest kid ever. I can't taste anything.
What?
Mommy, Daddy, I think I lost my taste.
James sent rats into my house.
Sarah! You poisoned my daughter?
No, sir. I didn't. I would never do anything like that.
Save the lies. Like the last dish I had before I lost my taste came from you and Hugo. Okay, you not only betrayed me, but you sabotaged my entire kitchen.
James forced me to. He said it was a special flavor enhancer. I needed the money. Please, Mr. Hines. I would never do anything
Get
like
out.
that.
Out! Go!
Yo, who's calling?
Shut your damn mouth. You talking to my daughter? You fed her poison? Criminal.
So, the little bastard lost her taste too. Great. Your maid did excellent work. Now tell me, who's cooking for you now? You're done.
Daddy, Mommy, what are we gonna do?
Don't worry. I'm back on my feet now. And I promise I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to take care of this whole family. I will win. I have to.
Look around. This place is crawling with world-class chefs. And we're really letting a little brat compete again?
Why not? Half the chefs here can't even hold a candle to Cat.
So, where's your tiny prodigy, Leon? Oh, wait. She's not coming, right?
That's none of your business.
James, maybe worry about your own chefs first. Cat beat every expensive master you hired.
I was tricked last time. This round, totally different.
I said we'd win. That hasn't changed.
Leon, you just don't get it, do you?
Master Carter?
Oh God, Master Carter's the reigning champion. With Renee gone, he's basically the undisputed #1.
Now, who's cooking for you, Leon? Is it the taste blind chef or the 70-year-old grandma?
Watch your mouth.
The Carter here. Top Chef has basically already decided. Renee lost to him once in her final match.
Renee was way stronger. Everybody knows Carter plays dirty.
Like I said, Top Chef and Top Restaurant. Both are mine this year. Why don't you two do yourselves a favor? Walk out now.
Carter has sabotaged more chefs than I can count. He's poisoned the entire industry. Should have been banned years ago.
Cooking isn't just about skill. It's about influence. Who eats your food? My clients include presidents and heads of state. Even the president books 3 months ahead. You think you could beat me? Ridiculous.
Don't celebrate too early.
You. What are you doing here? Your hands. That's impossible. They were destroyed.
Then maybe you underestimated what I'm capable of.
No, your hands, they shouldn't even be functioning.
And yet here I am, fully healed and fully ready. And this time, Carter, you're not gonna lay a single trap.
Trap or no trap, I'd break you either way.
Look at this lineup. We have the comeback has-been or the pint-sized wannabe. Do you two really think that you're championship material?
Say one more word. Try me.
Relax, Daddy Leon. Since you're so confident, how about we make a little wager? If you lose, you sell Heinz Group to me 30 cents on the dollar.
And if you lose, every injury, every scar, all the humiliation that you caused Renee, I'll return to you in tenfold.
And this time, Carter, I'm gonna finish what I started.
Mom, show them who the real legend is.
Renee, save yourself the humiliation. Walk away while you still can.
Intimidation isn't a strategy, Carter. You can always try harder.
That signature Renee ego. Let's see if it's aged well or just expired.
Welcome to the 2026 Golden Fork competition. Round 1 theme, Ryujian Lemon. Only the top 4 chefs move forward.
Ryujian lemons are a molecular nightmare. If anyone can tame them, it's you, Renee.
The stage was built for you. Go own it.
Round 1, begin.
I can't even see his hands. They're moving so fast. This heat is over 200 degrees Celsius. This is the real master.
Master Carter is on fire today. I don't think Renee can beat him.
Wait, she's doing the same thing. Her hands are moving just as fast.
But her hands were ruined before. How can she move so fast?
That's my wife. Always does the impossible.
Carter is done. Final time, 55 minutes.
Wow.
55 minutes? Master Carter is in God mode today.
The Ryujian lemon typically takes 8 to 24 hours to make. Finishing in 1 hour? That's impressive.
But can Renee finish in time?
Time's up. Mr. Harrods, please.
Ha, she finished right on the buzzer. No way that the quality will hold up.
Cold, sour, sweet, crisp. Every layer is here. Carter's lemon is textbook excellence.
The cut, the color, pure master class.
This is what real Top Chef looks like. If Carter trained me, I'd be unstoppable.
Why did he freeze? Is something wrong?
It must be a texture problem. Renee rushed too much.
Leon, you let your wife cook like that on a global live stream? Bold move.
Relax. I remember my 6-year-old daughter destroyed half your team.
This is art. The curve is natural. The flavor is alive. Every detail is crafted with soul. Both dishes are excellent. But Renee's dish has artistry and balance, depth and heart. Round winner, Renee.
That's my wife, always untouchable.
Renee champion! Renee champion!
So, the burned hands still work. What a miracle.
My hands are fine. It's your ego that needs the ER.
You're bold today.
No, just honest. And your threats? Paranoias.
Let's see how long that confidence lasts.
Grand finale. Fish, main dish. 3 elite judges. 10 points. Max.
Hold up. I'm adding a wager. Let's turn this into a death match.
Again? Same trick, same pathetic intimidation. This time I won't back down. I have my daughter, my husband, and my entire group behind me. So go ahead, bring it.
If you lose, I'll take your eyes. I'll make sure today is the last time you ever see a kitchen.
I knew it! Carter loves these stupid deathmatch rules.
And after this, he'll probably crush everyone again.
Walk away now. If you want to continue, you better start practicing cooking blind.
You're sick. You've ruined this industry for years.
Renee, I'll be generous. I'll give you 3 seconds to decide.
You're nothing but a thug. This is straight up extortion.
Say it out loud. You're scared. Go on. Quit. 3, 2, 1. Renee, you sure you want to continue?
Well, what a pity. If someone quits, this year's champion is automatically...
Hold on! Who said I'm quitting? Yes. Carter, I'm not backing down. Not today. Not ever.
Renee, are you out of your mind?
If you lose to Carter, your career is over as a chef.
And what about us? Heinz Group could be bought out at 30% of its value. What do you expect us to do? Host bake sales?
Renee, your hand's just healed, okay? It's fine if you walk away. I won't blame you.
No. Leon, I'm not running away. I'm fighting. For you, for our daughter, and for myself.
Heinz Culinary Group stays in.
Leon, you're insane! A gambler with no chips left.
How entertaining. Let's see how long that pride of yours lasts this time.
Boss, please, we can't do this. It's suicide.
No. Okay, I trust her. All right, whatever the price, I stand with her. Renee, whatever you choose, I'll be right beside you.
Well, well. Renee Parker decides to crawl back into my arena. Still hungry for a death match?
Happy nonsense. Are you competing? Or are you just here to bark?
Master Renee, is this really your call?
Renee, one wrong move and we all go down with you.
Let's get the record straight. Back then, I was Carter's student. 6 years ago, I didn't lose. I was sabotaged. Someone dropped boiling oil all over my station accidentally. If not for that, the Golden Fork would have been mine.
Oh, Still traumatized. Walk away then. Save yourself.
I don't run from cowards. Start the round.
You're bold today. Entertaining, but stupid.
Final round. Fish, main dish. 35 minutes. Timer starts now.
Wow. They're neck and neck. Incredible.
Don't get your hopes up. No one has touched Carter in over a decade.
Renee! Renee! Emergency pause! Stop the round! Now!
You pathetic, talentless rat! You can't win, so you maim people!
No, please. If she can't control her tools, why is that my problem? Mocking injury? Mid-competition? Is this the circus now? Should I juggle to match the theme?
Renee, listen to me. This is a concussion. You cannot continue cooking like this.
I'm fine. It's nothing.
How does a tenderizer fly off someone's station at that speed?
Because he threw it! Snake can't win without having someone bleed for him.
If the impact hit your optic nerve, you could go blind. Renee, one wrong move and your career is over.
Still seeing. That's all I need. Thank you.
Drop the tough act. One wrong move, and that eye goes dark for good. No more kitchen, no more future. You won't even get to see your daughter's face again. Look at you, barely standing. This isn't cooking. This is a countdown to your collapse. Keep fighting, chef. The universe loves a tragic hero.
She can't see straight. She's in real danger.
Carter's won this. It's done.
Move faster, come on.
I'm finished.
Master Carter's dish is complete!
Why isn't my heat working? What's wrong with this station?
Oh, Renee, you still believe effort beats power. My network runs half of this industry. If I say you lose, you lose.
Carter, you shameless bastard!
That's it. She's done. No heat, no sear. She's finished.
This is sabotage. Carter must have planned every second of this.
4 minutes, Renee. You couldn't beat me at your peak. 6 years later, you think you could magically win now? Maybe go home. Take care of that kid you love so much.
I request an immediate rematch.
A rematch? What is this, a playground? She got hurt because she's slow and sloppy. If every chef cried foul, this competition would be a joke.
Per the rules, if Master Renee fails to complete her dish, then this year's champion is automatically...
She's cooking wild sablefish without high heat. The flesh will collapse. No texture, no structure.
I told you all Renee could never beat Carter, but no one listens to me.
There has to be a way. Come on, think, Renee, think.
Renee, even if that cooktop worked again, you've got what? 2 minutes? That's not cooking time. It's a joke.
Thank you.
The cooktop is now recreated. Master Renee, please confirm. Do you continue?
Maybe I don't need my eyes at all.
Oh, fantastic. She's officially lost it.
She's pushed too hard. There's no way out of this.
Go ahead. Impress me. 2 minutes. 1 ruined fish and no eyes. Let's see a miracle. What are you doing? She's cooking blind.
A blindfolded chef? Is she trying to rewrite the rule book?
Trust me, if Renee covers her eyes, it's because she's operating on a level neither of you can.
This is unreal. Master Renee is voluntarily blindfolded, and she's still keeping pace. 1 minute left.
I've done cooking competitions for 20 years and I've never seen anything like this. Renee, you've made a lifelong fan.
Says Renee, blindfolded or not, she gets the bullseye every time.
30 seconds left. Show me how you plan to pull off the mirror.
Renee, you're inches from the ground. Keep going. Come on.
Wake up, Leon. You're cheering for a woman who can't even see her own plate. The only thing Renee can't see is how low you're willing to go.
Renee, come on, trust your hands. Own this moment.
Final countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time! It appears Master Renee did not...
I'm finished. Well, I told you the battle isn't over. I won't break my word.
There we go. That's our girl.
I never doubted you. Not for a second.
Cute speech, but let's stay realistic. You barely reached the buzzer. Your hands are shaking. Your pan never reached full heat. Let me guess. The fish is still swimming?
You did hold on longer than I predicted, I give you that. But adrenaline is a cheap trick, Renee. And the bill is about to come due. In those eyes, when this is over, you might not see a damn thing.
Save your breath, I'm not interested.
Well, a blind chef trying to pull off a Michelin-grade main. Please, I can't even suspend my disbelief that far.
Then I suggest you watch closely, because you're about to eat your words with a side of humiliation.
Both contestants have completed their dishes, and we now move into the final judging round.
Leon, in a few minutes, your whole Heinz dining group will be sold to me for, what was it again? Right. 30% of its value. A bargain, really.
Funny. You talk a lot for someone who's terrified of losing.
Terrified, Leon? Let me tell you how the adults play the game. Do you know why Master Carter is undefeated? Because the entire Intercontinental Chef Association is our people.
Here. The round one theme. That's your specialty.
Good. And for the final round, whatever Renee makes, you give her exactly 1 point.
Master Carter's Fish Wellington. Judges, please taste and score.
Exquisite. Absolutely exquisite.
Perfectly baked pastry. Moist, well-balanced fish. technically outstanding.
9. 9. And a perfect 10 from Tracy.
10? Are you kidding?
Master Carter actually got a perfect score.
Oh my god, this basically crowns him. Carter is the winner.
2 9s and a 10. For Renee to beat that, she'd basically need a perfect trilogy of 10s. That's almost mythical.
Well, Leon, ready to bend the knee? Oh, go on. Be a good boy and give me Heinz Dining Group for 30%. This is what domination looks like.
James, I was blind before, but now, please, give me another chance.
Well, damn. Finally someone decides to pick the winning side.
Grace, what are you doing? Have you lost your mind?
I'm perfectly sane. You all are the crazy ones, putting all your hopes in Renee. She will never be Carter. And when Heinz Group collapses, I won't be going down with you.
That's the spirit. Stick with me, and I will give you designer heels, luxury cars, penthouses. In fact, I'll even crown you as Master Grace. How does that sound?
Judges, please score Chef Renee's low temp wild sablefish.
Seriously? This looks like it belongs on a cheap hotel buffet.
This is going to be fun. Ladies and gentlemen, watch closely. This is what losing looks like.
Holy, Renee's current score is, what? A 1?
No, what? That's wrong. There must have been a mistake.
Master Renee? Even a street vendor wouldn't crash this hard.
Grace, go on. Be a doll and tell your ex-colleagues that the door to Mason is open. I'll pretend today never happened.
You bastard! I would never abandon my team. I would rather sleep under a bridge than work for you.
Hey, Leon, I just gave your people some killer job offers. You better learn on how to take care of your blind wife.
Renee, stop embarrassing yourself. The world runs on connections, not talent. Anyone can sear a fish. Do your kid a favor. Go home. Mommy duty suits you better.
Carter, you still think you've won?
Tell me I'm wrong. Your cod dish is pitiful. And honestly, giving you 1 point is charity work.
Really? Well, I have 3 judges who haven't scored yet. So why don't you keep your smug eyes open and watch closely?
They're reevaluating. The match isn't over. It's not even close.
No. No! This can't be real. This is not happening. No. No, that can't be.
It's not a 1. It's a 10. It's a perfect 10.
Jesus. 10, 10, and 10? Master Renee just broke the all-time record. She's the highest scoring chef in competition history.
3 10s?
It's for her.
It's impossible. We planted our own judges.
She did it! Renee did it! We made history!
No, her dish was basic. It was basic! I want to recount. She cheated!
Still allergic to losing, Carter? Face it, you got outcooked by me. Fair and square.
Texture. Glaze. Look at finish. I've never tasted cod this perfect.
Carter, in the name of the International Culinary Association, you're officially expelled. Every partner, every restaurant, and every league, your name is blacklisted permanently.
You lunatic! You can't just erase me!
10 years of receipts, bribery, rigged scores, tainted plates, bought judges, all documented, all exposed.
Carter got reported? You're kidding me, right?
Damn right he did. That bastard karma finally punched back.
Carter, James, you're suspected of bribery and competition fraud. Take them straight to the police. Now.
Paul! Buddy, come on. Let's talk about this.
You want to talk? Fantastic. The police station has chairs, buddy.
Oh, going somewhere?
What? I'm your teacher. You can't.
And when you tried to destroy my entire life, did the word teacher even cross your mind?
You broke our family. You tore us apart for 6 years, and now? Time to pay your tab.
What do you mean? What are you planning to do to me?
You'll have plenty of time to think about that when you're behind bars.
You'll regret this! All of you!
Money? Access, power, connections. I can give you everything. Everything!
Pathetic! Take them away!
Hold it! Carter, you lost. And we're playing by your rules, right? Life or death match? So I think it's time you honor that.
And Master Carter, none of you lay a finger on me.
You terrorized young chefs with these bets for years. You destroyed lives, destroyed careers. Okay, but now, your bill has finally come due.
You forget that you slammed this into me? Or is short-term memory loss just part of your personality?
I made you. You're a nobody from a country shack. You dare surpass me? Everything I did was for my title. Tell me, what did I do wrong?
Everything.
My head! My head!
Boss, please. I was forced. It was James. He made me. I didn't want
Grace,
to.
you're fired. Okay, effective immediately. And listen close. Every restaurant, every affiliate, every partner under Heinz Group will blacklist you permanently.
No, this can't be happening. This can't be the end. This can't be happening. This can't be the end.
Zach, get her out of here.
No, boss, please. I shouldn't have snapped at your wife, your daughter, and I shouldn't have listened to that sneak, James. But please, just give me one more chance.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2026 Golden Fork competition has officially reached its grand finale. Please congratulate Renee Restaurant of the Heinz Culinary Group, this year's top restaurant. And congratulations to Master Renee, crowned this year's top chef.
Master Renee! Master Renee! Master Renee!
And now, a brand new award created for someone truly one of a kind. Congratulations to Chef Catherine, winner of the cutest and most promising Baby Chef Award.
Million miles away, look at the stars from where.
All right, ladies. Churros from the fryer. One for mommy and one for my princess.
So good. But still not as good as mommy's churros.
Oh, well, if my little chef likes it, then I will make as many churros as you want.
She has time. Master Chef Renee's booked until what? Next spring?
I have the best mom in an entire planet.
And Dad. Hello?
Dad is the best too. Tomorrow I want a donut, a rainbow slushie, and a candy apple.
Whatever Chef Catherine wants.
Come here, group hug.